Hello and welcome to another episode of That Football Topic. It's that time of year, one of my favorite times of the year. We are 6 days away from the NFL draft. There's been a lot of buzz, as there always is going into every draft. I apologize. I was on a little spring break vacation, so that's where I was for the last 3 weeks, seeing the world. I got to spend a little time in Miami, and I got to say, I'm starting to understand why Tyreek Hill wanted to leave Kansas City and go to Miami. It's starting to make a little more sense. Great city. Anyways, as we get into the NFL draft, of course, I am going to come up with my 2022 first round mock draft. I have every year. This is how I started the podcast, was by talking about the draft. So let's get right into it. I do like to throw in a couple trades just to kind of wrinkle it up, see what kind of fun we can have here. So without further ado, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now there's some talk because of the general manager and wanting to go with the athletic. The athletic specimen, which in this case would be Trayvon Walker. Or you go with the safe pick, the floor, that's Aiden Hutchinson. Remember back when he was with San Francisco, they went with Aldon Smith over J.J. Watt and some of those guys like that were considered more safe picks. Of course, Aldon Smith came out and racked up a crap ton of sacks in his first 2 years and proved to be worth it. However, I think if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars looking at this is just second year in a row that you were the first pick. That's exclusive company right there, being back-to-back first overall picks. You cannot be in this position again, and you just got to get the best player available, and that is Aiden Hutchinson. He's the safest pick. Personally, I think he has a Pro Bowl type of floor. Reminds me of Trey Hendrickson a lot. You just can't be the team that has 3 straight first-round picks, and if Trayvon Walker doesn't work out for you, you could be in that sort of situation. But let's move on to pick number 2. That's the Detroit Lions. They are going to get Trayvon Walker. I think he has the highest ceiling of any player in this draft. I mean, he's an absolute beast. He's very raw and extremely athletic. However, the one concern people have is he didn't get a lot of opportunities at Georgia to rush the passer. On third downs, they'd sometimes take him out. They'd do a pass rush by committee. So he didn't get the production that you would expect out of a number 2 overall pick coming out of college. But I think Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn can really coach him up to be an all-pro kind of player. And he's a better culture fit. And, on this podcast, we love culture fits. It's a better culture fit than Kayvon Thibodeau. And there have been reports saying that Dan Campbell really isn't a fan of Thibodeau, as his boisterous personality is something that the Lions really aren't looking for. So let's just go to the Texans. I mean, they're going to get Kayvon Thibodeau because he's an absolute beast. I mean, they kind of had a need at every position. It was actually funny when I was concocting my mock draft on like the simulators or whatever. I think I did mine through PFF. They like to put the team needs, and it's like, oh, they need wide receiver, corner, it's just needs. Texans were the only team out of all 32 that said their team need was every single position on the football field. And outside of quarterback, pass rusher is the most important position, and they're going to get themselves an outstanding pass rusher in Thibodeau. He's going to scare off the Lions, but it won't drop them outside the top 3 as the Texans get their heir to J.J. Watt. Now we have the Jets. Now, this is an extremely important draft for the Jets. They are working with a lot of ammo here. They have the luxury of working with the 4th and the 10th pick in this draft. This is huge for the Jets because I actually think they were one of my offseason winners so far. They have a chance in this draft, if they do what I think they're going to do, to be the winners of the offseason overall. They need a little sauce. So I'm going to have them getting Sauce Gardner, the cornerback out of Cincinnati. They have their quarterback. They built up their O-line last year. Now it's time to get some skill position players, and a cornerback is definitely a need for them. In my personal opinion, I have Stingley as my cornerback 1, but lots of teams have Sauce as theirs, so I think Sauce Gardner is going to go to the Jets. He has the ideal size. He's the best zone corner in the draft. He never allowed a touchdown in college. He only allowed 122 yards this year, and then versus Alabama in the semi-playoff game, he only allowed 14 yards off of 4 targets. So a lot of people right now are comparing him to Richard Sherman, who, guess what? That was the corner 1 in Robert Saleh's outstanding 2019 49ers defense. So I think this is a perfect fit for the Jets. Now we got the Giants. it's the draft of the New York teams because the Giants have 2 picks in the top 8. The Jets have 2 picks in the top 10, one of them being 4 and 10. The Giants are sitting at 5 and at 7. So what was the main promise that Dave Gettleman made the Giants that he wasn't able to fulfill? I'm going to build the O-line. I'm going to make it really good. He failed. He did not do that. They got Andrew Thomas last year. I'll give him that, who definitely progressed as the season went along. But they're sitting at 5 and not a single tackle has been taken off the board. Cha-ching. They're going to get Ikem Ekwonu, who, in my opinion, is the best tackle or is the best offensive line prospect in this draft. He could even be a top 3 prospect in the draft overall. I mean, Joe Schoen now has the chance to make a splash in his first pick in his first draft, and that absolutely is a splash pick. So moving on to this pick, which is the Panthers, sitting at 6, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the more interesting teams going into this draft because sitting at 6, they're the team that everyone's saying they can get a quarterback. They're going to get a quarterback. They need a quarterback. They're sitting with Sam Darnold. Hell yeah, you need a quarterback. Sam Darnold's been awful. And Ben McAdoo, he had a little slip up in his press conference. The new Panthers offensive coordinator said, "Oh, Sam Darnold's our starter." And then about a minute later, he was like, "Actually, I shouldn't have said that. He isn't our starter." So a lot of confusion going on in the building for the Panthers. Why that is why I believe they're going to get Kenny Pickett, the quarterback out of Pittsburgh. He will be the first quarterback off the draft. I mean, there's obvious connections between Kenny Pickett and Matt Rule through Temple. Of course, Kenny Pickett committed to play at Temple when Matt Rule was the coach, but then when Matt Rule left, Kenny Pickett decommitted, so there's a connection there. And personally, in my opinion, I don't believe Pickett is worth the top 20 pick, but this is a quarterback-driven league, and the Panthers are a team that has really needed a quarterback since Cam Newton sort of left his prime. So, I mean, Pickett threw for 42 touchdowns in 13 games and was a Heisman finalist, so they're definitely getting a good one in Kenny Pickett. All right, now we have the Giants back on the clock after they just went Giants, Panthers, Giants. However, ding, 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 we have a trade. This is my first trade, and it's going to be the New Orleans Saints. They made a splash deal with the Eagles, giving away a first round next year, their first rounder this year, to acquire both the Eagles' first round picks at 16 and 19. So what are they going to do with those? They are going to trade up to number 7. Do you know why? Because sitting at number 8 is the Atlanta Falcons. And what do the Atlanta Falcons need? A wide receiver. Guess what? So do the Saints. So they are going to jump the Atlanta Falcons to select Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, The Ohio State University. Garrett Wilson is a number 1 receiver in the draft. If the Saints don't do this, I absolutely have Garrett Wilson going to the Falcons. I mean, he has drawn comparisons to the likes of Stephon Diggs. And just to back to the trade, the Giants would get the 16th and the 19th pick in the draft for the Saints to move up to 7. So Wilson finished the 2021 with 70 catches, 1,058 yards, 12 touchdowns. It seems like the Saints are kind of a vacuum for Ohio State's players in the NFL. I mean, they're going to now have a receiving core duo of Michael Thomas and of Garrett Wilson. Let's talk about Michael Thomas a little bit because he's coming off of basically 2 years of not playing, where before he got hurt, he was considered the best receiver in football after breaking Marvin Harrison's reception record. So I think this takes a lot of pressure off of Mike Thomas returning from injury. You get Jameis Winston healthy. Mike Thomas is going to come back healthy, and now you have a good, young, generational type receiver in Garrett Wilson, who is my number 1 receiver and a lot of people's number 1 receiver in this draft class. So now we have the Falcons sitting at 8, and they're like, oh, shoot, we were totally going to get Garrett Wilson. What do we do now? I still think the Falcons want to get a receiver, but I think they are comfortable with trading back at this point. And I'll explain more on the Falcons side when we get to who they trade with. There's a team out there who is desperate for a corner, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. They have an absolute need at corner, and they've been very passive about getting one in the last couple of years. Like, oh, they'll go out, sign an aging Patrick Peterson or draft a Jeff Gladney or something like that late in the first round. It's not going to cut it. They need to go get a generational type guy, and that guy is Derek Stingley out of LSU. So the Vikings are going to jump from number 12 to number 8 with the Falcons to get their guy, Derek Stingley, out of LSU. I mean, there's new management in the building with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, along with head coach Kevin O'Connell. They're all looking to make a splash. This is their first draft. They need to change up the culture in Minnesota. Stingley's my cornerback one in this draft. He has a chance to be a generational type prospect. He's easily the best man-on-man corner in the draft. I mean, Stingley was the best corner in college football as a freshman. I mean, he's only played 10 games in 2 years since that, but he had the highest coverage grade as a true freshman in all of college football. So this kind of reminds me of last year's draft where you have two very good corners. Last year it was Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn, and then this year it's Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner. And I think going into this college season, Stingley was corner one. Everyone was on Stingley. Stingley's going to be a top 5 pick. Stingley's corner one. And then that was the same how it was last year with Patrick Surtain. Like Patrick Surtain's corner one. But then after the season, the draft stocks of the bigger, well-bodied corners like Sauce Gardner, like J.C. Horn started to rise. And then the teams went out. J.C. Horn went first. I have Sauce Gardner going first here. And I'm not going to go out and say like, oh, J.C. Horn is like not going to be a good player. He got hurt. Obviously, that's not fair. But Patrick Surtain, we saw what he's is and what he's going to be. I think that's a very similar trajectory for LSU corner Derek Stingley going to the Vikings. Going to be going up against his former teammate in practice in Justin Jefferson. All right, now we have pick 9. This was the Broncos' pick until they traded for Russell Wilson, gave it to the Seahawks. So the Seahawks are going to go up, and they're going to snag the most complete tackle prospect in this draft, and that is Evan Neal out of Alabama. They desperately need help at that tackle position, so they're going to get a really good one in Evan Neal. Now we got the Jets. As I said, they're in a luxurious position here. They need skill guys. They just went and got arguably the best corner in this draft. Now they're going to go and get easily the fastest receiver in this draft in Jamison Williams out of Alabama. I mean, the Jets have made it no secret at all that they are trying to upgrade at the receiver position. I mean, they said they were really in on the Tyreek Hill deal. They almost got him there. And there was talks about them potentially trying to trade for Debo. He's like, Joe Douglas is like, I'm going to keep all my options open. So they're definitely looking to upgrade at that receiver position. They couldn't get Tyreek Hill. They're going to get the next closest thing out of this draft in Jamison Williams, the absolute speed demon from Alabama. I think this fits perfectly with what the Jets are trying to do, getting Zach Wilson a good, nice wide receiver one. Now we got the Washington Commanders. In their first draft as the Commanders, they're going to replace Landon Collins with the generational safety talent, Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Kyle Hamilton, what I love about him is he's very versatile. I mean, his largest snap share of this season came out of the slot, with his second largest being deep and his third largest being the box. So they really moved him all around, and he played very well in all of those positions in college. Teams are viewing him as the next big thing at the safety position, and the Washington Commanders are going to get him at 11. All right, so now we have pick 12. This was the Vikings pick. They traded up to go get Derek Stingley, so the Falcons are trading back. They're at 12. So since their division rival Saints decided to jump them for Garrett Wilson, the Falcons, they felt comfortable. Hey, we're going to drop back a few picks. We're still going to get a quality guy at receiver here. And we're going to get some draft capital because the Vikings were hungry for a corner. They couldn't get Garrett Wilson. How about they get his teammate, Chris Olave, out of The Ohio State University? Olave is the best route runner in this class and an elite deep threat. A lot of people would say, hey, what about Drake London? A lot of people have him going here. I don't know if Drake London's a great fit in Atlanta. I mean, you have Kyle Pitts, who's already that big body, red zone type of threat, very similar to what Drake London does. So I think this just gives the Falcons offense a little more versatility. They have a downfield threat in Chris Olave. So I really like this pick for the Falcons. Now sitting at pick 13, the Texans, they have 2 first-round picks. They just went and got Kayvon Thibodeau, 3rd overall. Now they're going to get an absolute steal and great value out of this pick 13 because they're going to get Charles Cross, the tackle from Mississippi State. I mean, this is a solid piece for their offensive line. If you look at the last 13th overall picks, they were both tackles too. Kristen Wirfs and Rashawn Slater. I think we both know how those guys worked out. So Charles Cross has a chance to be a really good prospect here, taken with the 13th pick. Now we're going to go back-to-back linemen with the Ravens. They're going to get Tyler Lindenbaum, who is the best center in this draft class. The Ravens need to upgrade at that position, and he's honestly one of the best center prospects we've had in the last 10 years. Eagles sitting at 15. They have a need at corner. I'd like them to see them get Trent McDuffie, as they're going to pair him with Darius Slade. That could be a very formidable cornerback duo. I mean, McDuffie didn't allow more than 40 yards in a game all season this year, and he's only allowed 111 yards this year. Truly shut down from the Pac-12 corner. So the Eagles are going to nab him at 15. I think he's one of the more underrated players in this year's draft. All right, 16th overall. This was one of the Saints picks. Of course, they jumped up in my draft to get Garrett Wilson. So this is the Giants pick. They're going to upgrade the pass rushing. They're going to use their second pick to get Jermaine Johnson, the edge out of FSU. This is a good pass rush boost from one of the top defenders in the ACC. He had a very good Senior Bowl, which upped his draft stock, and he was able to rack up 14 sacks in 12 games. This is a big pick here for the Giants. Now we got the Chargers sitting at pick 17. One of the things that the Chargers just did fantastically this offseason was upgrade at probably their biggest position, or just biggest area of need, because last year they had one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, and it has been their mission to completely fix that, and that's exactly what they've done. It started off by trading for Khalil Mack, outstanding run defender. Then they go and sign Sebastian Joseph Day from the Rams, and now they're going to get the 6'3", 242-pound, 4.78 40-yard dash running defensive tackle out of Georgia, Jordan Davis. He will be the last piece to that puzzle of solving their run defense. And now the Chargers with Jordan Davis will have created a stifling defensive line to stop the likes of Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams. All right, Eagles. They have another pick here, this one for the Saints. And that's going to be spent on a linebacker. They just went and got defensive back. They're upgrading this defense heavily in this draft because they have a need at linebacker. They're going to get probably the best all-around linebacker in this draft. That is Devin Lloyd out of Utah. He is a really good blitzer and an excellent coverage linebacker, so he's going to be a very good fit for the Eagles there, especially if they're able to sign Tyrann Mathieu later in the future, which there's been a lot of links to the Mathieu and the Eagles. So now, pick 19 was the Saints. They traded up, of course, so this is the Giants as well. Giants are working with 3 first-round picks in Joe Shane's first draft. And if there was anybody that could contest Devin Lloyd for the best linebacker in the draft, it's national champion linebacker Nakobe Dean. And that's exactly who the Giants are going to take here. He reminds me a lot of Luke Kuechly, the way he's able to run sideline to sideline. His play recognition is off the charts. He had an outstanding college football playoffs and national championship run. He was a big reason why that Georgia defense was so good and why they won the national championship. And I think this is a slam dunk pick for the Giants at 19. Now we have, I think, another very intriguing team in this draft, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers, because right now their quarterback's Mitchell Trubisky. She could be the starter, but according to reports, Mike Tomlin loves Malik Willis. There could be a chance the Steelers even trade up to get him. I don't think he does. In my mock, he falls to the Steelers at pick 20, and they are going to love to have him. Malik Willis personally is the best quarterback, QB1 in my eyes, and the Steelers are going to get their guy in the future of the future. They have a chance sort of to do what the Steelers or the 49ers, did with Trey Lance and Jimmy G. You have Mitch Trubisky, similar to Jimmy G. He's going to go and start the year out. I think Mitchell Trubisky will be fine with Mike Tomlin. He's a winning coach. They have an outstanding defense. And then they'll pass the keys on to Malik Willis, similar to they're about to do to Trey Lance. I mean, Willis, let's be real. He's the most raw quarterback out of this draft, but he easily has the highest ceiling. The question is whether he'd be good, whether he'd be put in a good situation or not. When you look at both quarterbacks I have here being taken, you have Kenny Pickett to the Panthers and you have Malik Willis to the Steelers. Steelers are a much better position. I mean, as a franchise, they've just been better. I 100% trust Mike Tomlin more than Matt Rhule. Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. Matt Rhule is kind of on his last straw right here, so I think Malik Willis goes to the best possible situation in Pittsburgh. Now we have the Patriots. They are going to take Drake London out of USC. I'm not as high as a lot of people are on Drake London, But the Patriots are going to be thrilled that he's sitting there at 21. Maybe he will probably go a little earlier, but I have him sitting here at 21. They're going to grab their wide receiver of the future and get themselves a big 6'4", 219 target for Mac Jones, who reminds me a lot of Mike Evans. I mean, he led college football in contested catches this year with 19, so that's a really good pickup and great value for the Patriots. Now the Packers. This is a pick that it could have a lot of people mad if the Packers don't get this right. They have not drafted. If this pick is not a wide receiver, Packers fans are going to lose their minds. Absolutely. I mean, the Packers have not taken a wide receiver in 20 years, since the 2002 draft when they took Javon Walker. And before that, they hadn't taken one since 1988 with Sterling Sharp. So it's safe to say that this has not been a trend for the Packers of taking wide receivers. However, you got to break that trend this year, because if you think you're going to go to the Super Bowl with Sammy Watkins as your wide receiver one, you got another thing coming. I don't care how good Aaron Rodgers is. I mean, it would be a stretch. I don't think it would be a stretch to say that the Packers should double dip on wide receivers with both their first-round picks. I don't think they will, but they will get a receiver here because I think they absolutely have to. They have to appease Aaron Rodgers after Devontae Adams left. They get the best guy available right now, and that's Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. He is a big, fast, physical receiver that can make the contested catches, and I think it's an absolute steal and great value at pick 22. Cardinals, they're going to upgrade their secondary by getting Andrew Booth out of Clemson. They're going to get secondary help from one of the better DBs in the SEC. The Cowboys, they have yet to find a replacement for dearly departed defensive end Randy Gregory. And George Karlaftis is sitting right there at 24. So they're going to go and get him. Again, great value pick for them. The Athenian defensive end is excellent in both areas, run or pass. And this is a great defensive piece to have alongside DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Very good pick here for the Cowboys. Now we got the Bills sitting at 25. I mean, these teams just cannot get enough of these Georgia defenders, and I have them taking Devontae Wyatt, interior lineman from Georgia. He is the fourth Georgia defender to go off the board in this draft. Now you look at the two Georgia defensive linemen. You have Jordan Davis, who I had going earlier to the Chargers at 17, who is easily the best run defender in this draft. Now you got Devontae Wyatt, who is the far more explosive and athletic tackle for Georgia, and I think he's a far better pass rusher than Davis is. And he had a dominant Senior Bowl, which definitely helped boost his draft stock. And I think the Bills are going to look here to get some interior D-line help from Devontae Wyatt. Now we get the Titans. They're going to look to upgrade receiver. I mean, they literally just have A.J. Brown. That's about it. Julio Jones didn't work out. He's not even on the team anymore. They're desperate for pass catchers, so they're going to nab a shifty and elusive receiver in Sky Moore from Western Michigan to put opposite A.J. Brown. The Buccaneers, they need to upgrade their offensive line after losing two starters this offseason. I mean, they're going to get Berhard Rainman to protect Tom Brady. He's 45 years old. You've got to keep that guy clean. So they're going to go and do that with their first pick. Packers, this is their second pick in the first round. I'm going to have them getting David Ajabo from Michigan. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's partner in crime is going to fall to the Packers, and they are all over it. I mean, the first year or the 1 year starter for the Wolverines racked up 11 sacks last year at Michigan, and the Packers will get their replacement for Zadarius Smith, getting another Wolverine pass rusher to pair alongside Rashawn Gary. All right, now I think also a very interesting team in this draft because they lost a really big piece of their identity, and that's the Chiefs, and I'm talking about losing Tyreek Hill. So they're sitting here with back-to-back picks at 29 and 30. So let's just go see what they want to do. I think they get a corner with their first pick at 29. I'm going to have them getting Jalen Petre out of Baylor. I mean, they're going to get some secondary help from a guy who really specialized out of the slot at Baylor. He led all defensive backs in college football in 2021 with 40 defensive stops. I think this is a great piece to put with L'Jarius Sneed and that secondary, who's definitely going to need some help after Tyrann Mathieu left. So he's a very versatile player that could even play a little safety for them. And then pick 30, with the departure of Tyreek Hill, they're in need of receivers, as I just mentioned, and they're in need of speed. And Jahan Dotson from Penn State definitely brings both of those to the table. Similar to Tyreek Hill in build, he's a smaller receiver. He's 5'11", but he's absolutely one of the better route runners in this draft class. He racked up 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns on 91 catches last year for the Nittany Lions. So I think this is a very good pick for the Chiefs to sort of get back a little bit of what they lost in Tyreek Hill. The Bengals, they're going to get Keon Green out of Texas A&M. He's a guard. They're just going to continue that offensive line rebuild. They signed 2 guys. Now they're going to draft 1. And now, rounding out the end of the first round here, we have the Detroit Lions. They started it off with Trayvon Walker, and they're going to end it with a bang, as they're going to get Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati. He has been rising in these last couple of weeks as a prospect. They're going to nab their quarterback of the future. A lot of people have been comparing Desmond Ridder to Marcus Mariota in terms of his athleticism, his ability to run the football. He was outstanding at that in Cincinnati. And what a lot of people love about Desmond Ridder is that he is probably the most pro-ready quarterback in this year's draft class. He was a 4-year starter for the Bearcats, and he led them to become the first Group of 5 team to ever make the college football playoffs. So Ridder will probably sit a year under Jared Goff, but we all know Jared Goff is not the answer quarterback for the Lions. They're going to get Ridder to take the reins after Jared Goff here, and they're going to end this draft with a bang. So I hope you guys enjoyed my 2022 mock draft. Definitely going to be talking about it more on Stop the Clock coming up later this weekend. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and have a nice day.